But
maybe we can get started.
we can get started because you are finding us. So thank you so much for your support and your understanding and for being here. We are so excited to be back with Open Source Thursdays. And today we have a special session because we asked a friend of ours, Vitor, to show everyone how to get started with a big Ruby project called Faker. And Vitor has prepared a great overview on how you can get started, and we will go through the issues, the pull requests. It looks like we will try to release a new version today, something like that. We will see how it goes. It's not prepared, so it's just going to be real life coding. So for those of you who have just heard about hexdevs is us. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Thiago.
And we like to create programs like this one to help the community keep sharpening their skills, keep growing in their careers. So we're really happy that you're all here. If you could let us know in the chat where you are joining us from. We are based in Vancouver, in Vitor as well. Then we can, just to warm up everything, make sure that we are all working. The sound is great as well. Please let us know if the sound is good.
Okay, so let's get started. I think that, so today what we're going to do, we're going to contribute to Ruby Faker together. Recently, we became core maintainers of Faker as well. So there's lots of opportunities for you to join us and contribute and get started with contributing to open source. And then Vitor is going to join us and we're going to contribute together. So maybe let's get started.
Yeah, we're going to introduce Vitor then without further ado. So, Vitor, welcome.
Hello, guys. Nice to meet you. I'm Vitor Oliveira, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm the co-founder of Napice. Tech. We are a school and community for software engineering leaders. Yeah, and it's a pleasure to be here. Looking very excited to show you a little bit about Faker. Thank you for having me, Stephanie and Thiago.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. I think that we've been planning this event for 2 months now.
Yeah.
So it's great to be here and collaborating together. And for those who don't know, Vitor is doing a bunch of open source work, right? He's the maintainer of the Elixir Faker library as well, and some other stuff. So it's really great to get together with someone that has a lot of experience contributing to open source. And maybe one of the first questions to you is, how long have you been a maintainer of Faker?
It's been like 4 to 5 years. I joined Faker in 2018. The repository wasn't being maintained anymore. And then I decided to contact the owner, and I proposed to him that I wanted to start helping him out, and it worked really well. And I've been doing that since then. I was able to bring some core maintainers to Faker, and it was great to be able to invite both of you. And I'm looking forward to be building more with Faker. As you guys may know or not, like Faker Ruby is being used as a port to other languages. So we have like Haskell, Rust, and other languages that are starting to consume the Faker dependence. So there is a lot of potential in Faker, and if you are excited to start contributing, just let us know.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
I think.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting that, for example, Haskell consumes the Faker Ruby library to generate their own fake data, which is kind of neat.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Vitor, just before you share your screen, I would just like to let everyone know, if you have questions or comments as the session goes, feel free to drop in the chat. And then if it's related to what Vitor is doing, we will ask as the question show up. Otherwise, we will have a Q&A at the end.
Yeah, we'll keep track of the questions.
Yeah, We'll
So
keep
don't
track
worry.
of the questions. And so, Vitor, you have some great introduction to Faker for us. So
Yes.
I will share your screen and let you get from here.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Yes. So let's get started. So first of all, today we're gonna talk about Faker Ruby, and now I'm showing the slides. I'm gonna basically slide. Yeah, it's gonna be full screen. So I'm the CEO and founder of Napice. I've been working with software engineering for around 16 years, 17 years. So I started in 2003. Started when HTML was different, and I've been doing full stack since then, like web, back end, front end, and I also had the opportunity to do native iOS and Android development. That was my experience as an individual contributor, and it's been awesome. Like I'm an engineer at heart. I switched to a leadership role, and nowadays one of my duties is to build software engineering teams, and that's why I decided to found Naps because I had this problem in my personal career when I was a senior developer. I, a company gave me a challenge to hire and build a team, and I was lacking like people and leadership skills. And I was able to overcome that by taking courses and connecting the dots. I also looked for mentors in my career. So I had several different mentors in Brazil, here in Canada, in the US. And I'm actually originally from Brazil. I'm from the state of Rio de Janeiro, from a small city, Volta Redonda. And
Me too.
great, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I got involved with open source in 2018. I was a Ruby developer. I really love Ruby. I don't work with Ruby every day anymore, but it is something that I really appreciate to spend time with when I have time. And today we're going to talk about Faker. I've been a Faker maintainer for around 4 to 5 years. And today we're going to talk about how Faker works internally. So the first thing that you are probably very used with Faker are the Faker generators. So anytime that you want to use Faker to write a test scenario for your API request, so you would probably use like Faker date dot date or Faker number dot number to generate a number for you. And usually the developers, they are clients of libraries. So they call an interface method and they don't even know what's happening behind the scenes. And that's what we're going to talk today, a little bit about Faker. So when you hit Faker date or another method inside this namespace, you're basically using the Faker base, which is an internal module that Faker has. And all these generators, they inherit Faker base. And so we are basically taking advantage of all the methods that are inside Faker base, and the Faker base calls the locales, and that's where we store all the translations for the Faker generators. Everything is inside the YAML files. We have different languages in the Faker Ruby community. So if you take a look at the locales folder in the project, you're gonna see that we have like English, Japanese, Portuguese from Portugal, from Brazil, Spanish from different countries, English also from different countries. Like we have English from UK, English from Canada, English from the US, and many other languages. So that's basically how it works internally. When you call Faker number something, it's gonna trigger the Faker base method, and then the Faker base method is gonna find the locale, and it is gonna return you some sort of data, like something that was generated by our library.
It's something that people don't realize that we do have a bunch of data inside the gem. And so we do generate some stuff like numbers and other things, but we also have a bunch of data like models of cars or names of cities in different languages. And so if you look, I think you're gonna talk about, but some people don't realize that we do have a bunch of stuff in there, right? And Iago was asking about that. So he asked about how does Faker generate the data. Is it being put from a database or being generated automatically?
I love that automatically.
Yeah, it is kind of automatically. It's not from, we don't have a database. So when you hit Faker, you are not doing any request to a server, and the server is returning the response to you. It's not like that. For example, Jupyter Network does that. When you're writing the data science in Python using Jupyter Network, that's how it works. And Faker is not like that. We have YAML files, and inside these YAML files, we store, basically data structures. And when we are calling these interface methods, we go to these YAML files, we retrieve the information, and usually the algorithms that generate what we're getting, they're inside Faker data or inside Faker number. So it's basically a data manipulation that we do, and there is obviously an algorithm that is going to generate that data for you. Let me give you one example. Let's say that you want to generate the ID of your US passport or your Brazilian ID, right? Your ID, CPF, that's how we would call, or SSN in the US. You have an algorithm that generates that number, and this algorithm usually is here in the generator. So it's not magically, like we cannot generate all, so let me clarify a little bit. We use some structures that generate these numbers, the combination of numbers. And that's why we have Faker-based Numberify, we have Faker-based Larify, Faker-based Bulkify. If you check these methods, you're going to see that they basically grab a sequence and they generate numbers or letters for that sequence. And that's how we do it internally.
It's kind of like a little template that you fill in the blanks, something like that.
Yes. And so besides like this flow and if you open Faker now, you're just going to see, just go to Faker data or Faker number, and then you're going to see that there is a Faker base, and go to Faker base and start looking at these methods and start learning them. And we have documentation for everything, so it's going to be very easy. So besides this, we also have some helpers. So you would see a helpers folder, and we have Faker unique generators. And we have two methods for that. This basically allows you to generate unique values for your generator. And depending on the test scenario that you are using Faker, you would need something unique, right? You have Faker char, Faker base 58, and these helpers usually support the Faker generators. So I would say that there would be an algorithm inside one of the Faker generators that would be using Faker char just to prepare, the string before sending back to the client, or just to fix the Latin, characters that could be wrong and send back to the client. And when I say the client, I mean the developer who is consuming Faker. Okay. And on the other hand, we have Faker config. So you can define the locale that you want to use with Faker. So let's say that you're working for a French company and you need to generate French locales. So you would define Faker config, and you would put FR. And Brazil would be PTBR, English would be EN, and etc. So that's basically the skeleton of Faker, okay? But, and then you would ask me, okay, nice, I have a better idea about how Faker works internally, but how can I contribute to Faker, right? So I brought a few considerations that you may be familiar with. The first one is that if you have never contributed to the open source, you don't need to do a big change. So you don't need to build a new web framework like Ruby on Rails to tell, recruiters or companies or anyone that you did something in the open source. Just for your information, 28% of casual contributors to the open source are documentation, typos, reformatting, or just writing a translation. So for example, Faker has probably more than 20 languages. Maybe you know other languages that are not in Faker. So why don't you go to Faker and add the language that we don't have? Or why don't you propose this language, right? And that's a way to start getting involved. And in the beginning, you just want to get in. Like you just want to fix a small typo, have the opportunity to talk to the maintainer, and then once you talk to the maintainer, you're gonna maybe send him a next session, next message, and you tell him or her that you want to contribute more. And so, what should you look in an open source project? So first, you're gonna access the repository, and if you really want to start contributing to this repository, I would advise you to first see when was the last commit. Like, was this commit from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago? Did they make this commit like one day ago? If it is recent, you have high chance of getting commits merged in this repository. How many contributors does this project have? How often people commit to this repository? So don't try to open a pull request in a repository that's not maintained anymore. You may waste your time. So be careful with your contributions. One thing that is important is to also look. So we were talking about commits, right? And usually commits you see in the main page of the repository. But what about the issues? So how many open issues are there? You need to see if maintainers respond to these issues. Are they friendly? Like, are they really? Do they really want to receive contributions? Right? Are there any active discussions that are stable or that are paused? Are there issues that are recent and nobody is assigned that it could work? And are issues getting closed? Right? And you should also do the same exercise that I just said in issues for pull requests. So how many pull requests do they have? Do maintainers respond and are friendly in the pull requests, responses? Are there any active discussions, something that people just stop and maybe you could just go there and say, hey guys, I see that this has been paused for 2 months. Can I work on this change? I have availability. And then you would probably get an answer, no, I'm gonna finish my work. Or yes, I'm very busy. Thanks for letting me know that you can complete my work. And here are the instructions to complete the work, right? So if you don't ask, if you don't have the proactivity, nobody's gonna go to your door and knock it.
Yeah.
So even if you get a no, you need to try.
Yeah, that's a great point, because from the point of view of the maintainer, we want to get issues solved, right? So it makes our lives easier, and we also want people to, well, at least most of the maintainers that I know, they want people to collaborate, to contribute. And so if you go there and you ask a question and you say, hey, are you still working on this? Can I take over the work? People are usually open to that, or maybe they're too busy, they won't be able to respond. So you probably can assume no one is working on that. So yeah, those are great tips, and thanks for the checklist. That's really useful.
Yeah, and I also just one thing before we go. It's also, I know, I think that at Faker we have been doing our best to kind of respond in a in a responsible window, but also it's always good to remember that people have other stuff going on as well. So even though they might not respond right away, there are other ways to see that the jam is moving along. So it might take some time to respond to a single issue or a pull request or something like that, but it's important to see if the jam is moving along, right? And and I really like that idea of asking. Just ask. Maybe that's the first step. I agree with that.
Yeah, think about my example, as I was saying in the beginning. Back in 2017 or 2018, I sent Ben. Ben is the co-founder of Honey Badge. He's very busy, and he answered me. So if I didn't have sent him that message, maybe I would never have contributed to Faker. I would never have invited Stephanie and Tiago to help us with Faker. And to be honest with you, before talking to him, I got a lot of notes, and I just moved forward, and that's what you should do, in my opinion. And look for like repositories where people are friendly, where people are responsive, where you see that they need help, right? Maybe join some Slack channels, Discord, for example. Faker has a Discord channel, and try to talk to the maintainers a little bit, uh, and try to understand what problems they have. Right? You don't want to just kiss ass and just like, hey, I just want to be friendly because I'm a first-time contributor. No, like, what problem do they have, right? And how can I help them? And then propose solutions, be actionable. That's my advice. So we have basically, again, like 3 things. First, we have issues. Second, we have pull requests. And third, the communication channels. So pull requests are for starting work on a solution. So as first-time contributors or as contributors, if you don't know what we're going to work, and if you don't know what problem you're going to solve in that dependence, first open an issue and start a discussion or a conversation, right? And then try to elaborate the problem and the solution in the issue. And once you know what to do, go and open a pull request. Don't do the reverse way, because you will avoid a lot of miscommunication. You won't waste your time and people's time if you do bad changes. Usually, who is maintaining repositories on the open source are busy people, so keep that in mind. And also, again, use the communication channels. Like, just join Slack, join Discord, join the channels, start watching what they are talking. For example, I am in the Elixir channel. I know that we are talking about Ruby, but I'm just bringing you this example. I am in the Elixir community channel, and this is where they talk about the Elixir advancements and the next releases. And I just watch what they're talking, and sometimes I have something to contribute. I go there and I send a DM. So if they're one of the maintainers, or if I want to know more about that. But I'm always watching what they're discussing, and I'm trying to follow, the next steps of the language. And you should be doing that with specific repositories that you want to start contributing.
Yeah, so one really easy way to get started with open source is when a new release of the language appears, you just test it against all the gems you're using. So for example, Ruby 3.5 comes out, for example, and then you go on Faker, change the language to Ruby 3.5, run the test and see if anything breaks.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to get started. And then you go and fix the tests and the code to make it work with the newer version. And then you just say, oh, hey, I did this, I changed this. So
yeah. And another way that I think it's overseen is trying to comment in the open issues with whatever information you have on your site. So let's say that someone says, oh, this is a bug, this is broken, it's not working anymore. We added a bug reproduction script template on GitHub. So some issues don't have the reproduction steps, and they help us a lot by knowing, oh, okay, this is how I can replicate this issue. This is really a relevant one. Or even if it is like, oh, so I couldn't reproduce this on my machine. Maybe it's a version thing, it's not related to Faker. Like, all of these things are kind of minor ways for you to see how the gem works and start that communication as well. So Iago, I put a T in front of it. So Iago has a question about this that we are discussing, Vitor.
Yes.
Is it the preferred way to ask in the issue of PR related questions on the Discord? Like if I don't understand how a method works, for example.
I think usually, for example, issues are for issues inside the implementation of a specific library. So if you go to the Rails repository, the Rails framework repository, and ask a specific question about a bug that you have, they will ask you to move your discussion to Stack Overflow. But if you are asking a question about a specific scenario that you found, an edge case, and you don't know if that method is going to be useful, maybe it's something that could be discussed in the issue. So try to keep all the related discussions about the library inside the issues to not get rejected with your issue. I've seen that a lot, like in my experience, and yeah, and like if you are asking about how to implement Faker inside my project, in Stack Overflow, you would get many more responses than in the Faker issue.
Yeah, it's not the right place to ask question about implementation or how the gem works. But what you could do, you could look at the documentation and try to answer your question. And if the documentation is not clear,
Yeah.
maybe you could suggest a change to the documentation. That's a really good way to contribute as well.
Yeah. And I think that people also think that documentation is not valid or whatever. And I would like to say that I have learned a lot about Rails internals just by reviewing the documentations. And I had a PR merged a while ago, which I literally just added one tiny thing in the documentation. And when I was doing a talk at ThoughtBot that I joined recently, that was a question that I was asked, and it was literally the thing that I had added in the PR. So don't underestimate the value of documentation, because I figure if this is confused to me, it's probably confusing to others. So whenever you feel like it's confusing, hey, just say, I found this confusing. Maybe the documentation could be improved, and here's my suggestion. So,
Great. Yeah, so next session is about opening a new pull request. So if you have never done anything in the open source, you're gonna learn now. If you have done, it's gonna be quick. Don't worry, I'm not gonna take too long. But first thing that you need to do is go to Faker and fork the repository. So you must have the repository in your GitHub profile, because you don't have access, like written access to Faker library, unless you are a maintainer. But since you're not a maintainer, you need to fork the repository to your GitHub profile. When you want to start your changes, create a new branch. There are a lot of maintainers who commit in the main branch of their forked repository. They push to Faker, and sometimes we have a few problems with that approach. So I would advise you to always open up branch. And that's the approach that you're going to do in companies that you're going to be working. That's the approach that you're going to be doing everywhere, because a Git branch is an essential tool for a developer. And then push your changes to the branch. By the time you open the pull request, go to your profile, go to the Faker repository in your profile, and you're going to open the pull request. And there are two options. You can merge, or you can open that pull request and merge those changes in your profile, like in the repository that is in your GitHub profile, or you can create some sort of mirror between your repository and the Faker repository. And you should do that, and then you're going to be and then you're going to be opening the pull request on the Faker repository. Okay, so do that, and whenever you are creating anything for Faker, make sure that you add tests. Anything that you are doing for backend, please do automated tests. Like if you don't wanna have nightmares in your life, start creating tests, please. Unit tests, integrated tests, learn about QA as well to do acceptance tests. Your life will be better. You will become a senior much faster than you would expect. And contribute to the style of the project. If you're seeing that Faker was built in a way and it is very consistent, keep it consistent. You're not gonna be like a very innovative person that is gonna change everything. That's not the idea. Like Faker already solves a problem. It is a very popular library. Our goal is to enhance and improve the performance of the library, and also to allow other languages to consume us, such as Haskell and other languages that are starting to do that. So understand that, and you will master the open source contributions path. And so now we are gonna do a practical exercise. Let me go back here just to see you. Hello, guys. And we are going to the issues page, because we are talking about how can I contribute to the open source. And you can see here that we have Faker Ruby and in the Faker repository. And we have 10 open issues. And these 10 open issues are being managed by Tiago and Stephanie. So if you have any questions about these issues, you can ask them, or you can also ask me. And there are things here that really need to be improved. For example, add the ability to fake phone numbers that follow the North American numbering plan. There are other issues that are really important that we haven't done. For example, upgrade the simple pub dependence, upgrade the translation dependence, I18man, and many other things. Like update independence is not like the end of the world. So you could do that after this call, right? So just take a look at these issues. We have reformulated Faker, and there was a proposal that Stephanie made for the maintainers. And Faker had, I think, more than 100 pull requests, or almost 100.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
From 5 years ago,
Yeah.
almost 100 pull requests, almost 100 issues open.
I actually would like just to give credit to my friend Guy Vieira. He's also the maintainer of Shoulder Matchers. I came to him, I was like, Guy, so I have this problem here. I know you probably have experienced something similar as Shoulder Matchers, and then he was like, yeah, I think you can close all of this.
You have to declare bankruptcy.
Declare bankruptcy
on the code base.
Start again. So yeah, those 10 issues are really active.
They are new.
They are new.
Active,
they have tags. They have information. And if you don't understand anything about them, ask. This is new for both of us as well, to create issues in an open source project. So please add your comments there, add your questions, so we can learn as well from this experience.
Tiago is here. Yes. Yeah, so this is the issues page, and I also want to reveal the pull request page.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why this icon is broken on GitHub. So as I said, like always open an issue unless your change is very simple. So if you see a typo in the documentation, you don't need an issue, right? Because it's just a typo. You are missing the A letter.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, you don't need an issue for that. For example, this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a very simple issue, and if you look, he was basically following the documentation, and he was using this method, which is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the implementation is correct. What was wrong was just the documentation.
The documentation. Exactly.
So he didn't really need an issue to fix this because it's relatively simple. It's just that this is almost a typo, right? Almost. So it's easy, right? So I go there, and as I said, I'm friendly. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Right? And I'm gonna submit the review.
Can you comment? Thanks, your PR was merged live.
That would be funny.
And then like a merge, right?
Yeah.
And then one change was merged to Faker.
Nice.
And so this is very, very simple, right? And now we're gonna do a release of the Faker. So if you want to see the Faker releases, you need to or either click in tags here or click in releases. And I already have the releases page open here. And as you can see, we have the version 2.20, right? And we want to do the version 2.23. And to do a new release, let's say that you are a maintainer of a repository in the open source. So you would ideally, first, the releases are not stored on GitHub, as you may know. So you need to go to the RubyGems, which is here, gem version, and then you can see the library here. So you need to grab this, like the main branch changes, prepare a small release, and just push to Faker, okay? So that we can get the package here. And that's what we're gonna do now.
Oh, cool.
And we want to see the changes that are associated with this new release. So we can click here, draft a new release. I already took a look, so it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be 2.3. And then I'm gonna release v2.2.3.0, and then I'm gonna generate the release. we have a lot of changes. I'm sorry.
So this is one thing that people might be interested in learning. So how do you come up with the version number, the major and the minors? How do you define that?
Yeah, so usually when you're just fixing bugs or doing chores or minor changes, you would bump this one. So let's say that we are in 220, and then we want to just add like small fixes, and then we would do this one.
Just a patch.
If you are adding new features, you would change this number. So it would go to 3. And if you are breaking changes, for example, let's say that you're removing a new faker generator for real, or you are creating something that is going to be disruptive for your clients. And when I say clients, I'm talking about the developers that use faker. You will do the 3.0, right? And you do this just to inform your clients that something's gonna break, and if they do the release, they should read the release notes. They should talk to the maintainers so that they don't break their product on production or on development. Usually, Faker is used a lot in development, and that's a good thing. So if something happens, we wouldn't be breaking people's production applications. But it is a very important library because most test frameworks are consuming this. And, and there is an importance there. So if we want to going back, if we want to do a release, first thing is where am I? Git branch, I'm here, right? And so I need to change the version, right, to do a release. So Faker version now is 2.2.0, so we're gonna bump to 2.2.3. Because we are adding new functionalities, new generators. You run bundle because the effect that you want to have is in either in the Faker version and also in the gem lock, which is right. And then now, if you want to do a new version, we need to do gem build faker.gemspec, and it's gonna generate the package for you, like Faker 2.3.0, and then now we can release the package. So I'm not gonna do this in the main branch. I'm gonna do this in a new branch. So it's gonna be bumped to 2.2.3.0, and then because otherwise I'm gonna be doing the reverse of what I said, right? So whenever you're doing changes, open a pull request. It's not gonna keep. So bumping bump Faker to 2.2.3.0, and I push. But we had a change log. So I also need to make sure that the change log is being updated, right? And as you saw when I generated the release, where is it? Here. It's already up with the change log for me. So you can literally just add this to the change log. I think the formatting here is a little bit different. So the formatting later. It doesn't need to be now.
Let me just ask you something quick. Did you pull your changes? I didn't see you pulling. Just double checking.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
It was so fast, I didn't see.
Wow, Flash. The Flash. Yeah.
Nice.
And then like today, what is today? So first September. Yeah. So and then here I have the change log, right? So we have the change log. Yeah, I did updated my main branch before I created. We're gonna see if it is updated now when we do when I open the pull request and change log notes. And change log notes. So if now I go to GitHub, I can open the pull request here, right? And but you wouldn't be able to open the pull request directly in Faker, so you need to mirror the pull request to Faker. then I'm gonna do this. So what's the summary of this? Bumping the Faker version to 2 to 3. Um, it is described in the changelog.
So the changelog pulls the pull request names to the changelog?
I got. Could you take us back again to what you do first and then next? I think I got lost a little bit. I have never seen anyone doing a release, so
Yeah, so what I did here was, first of all, we changed the version of the library. So let me go back to the pull request because we're gonna see my changes here.
Yeah.
So here is all the changes associated with this new release in the changelog. And before doing that, it is important to change the Faker version of your project. So it was 2.2.0, now it's 2.2.3. And then when I did this, I had to do bundle.
Yeah,
I had
to build the gem.
Right.
I have to do bundles because otherwise my gem file.log is gonna still be 2.2.0, even though here is 2.2.3. Right? So you need to update both. And then once you do that, once you have the new once you have the new version or the new package, you just run. So I just deleted this one because I'm gonna run again. Okay. So you do this. And build faker.gemspec. And why am I doing this? Because the name of the file is faker.gemspec. I'm basically generating a package according to this specification, because this is a gem specification, right? And that's how we build packages in Ruby. And then if I run this, it generates the file for me. And now if I do git status,
cool.
Nice.
Okay.
But we don't need, so one thing that I did wrong here was that I added, so I'm gonna sketch this one, okay? And I'm gonna do this. So I added this file to the GitHub pull request. Look here, so this file is here and it shouldn't be here.
Okay.
So it doesn't need to be on the pull request. And then I'm just gonna do remove .gem file.
Oop. It's okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not here anymore. And then these are the changes, okay? And then someone needs to approve. So I assigned Tiago, I assigned Stephanie to approve my pull request, and now I'm waiting for them.
Yeah, so do you want me to approve it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we just did the code review there, so it looks good. So let me approve it.
Yeah, so it looks like this release is not like a really good one because it has a lot of changes at once. So how, and I think that also, go ask here, like, how do you decide when to release a new version? So maybe this is something that I was gonna ask you, like how often should we release? Like how should we coordinate the release?
So usually, ideally, so if you look at this release, you're gonna see that we have like 20 changes. And it's a lot. Like if you already have like 5 changes, I think it's already okay to do a release. And I wouldn't advise to do a release with any small change that you do, because as we're seeing, there is a flow. So I need to go there, I need to create the changelog, I need to create the package, and then I need to push the package to RubyGems. And I haven't done that yet because I haven't merged this PR. I'm just waiting CI pass here. So as you're seeing Ruby Faker, we have the CI connected. We check the Rubocop, we check these Ruby versions before merging any pull request. And I think it's gonna be fine. So by the time we merge this, and I think we can do it because it's just documentation. I can do a release, right? So let me do the right release, otherwise it's gonna just. And I do the release here. Now I have the changes here, and now I have to do something else because otherwise my changes are not gonna be on GitHub.
Right.
So I come here, and then I do git push. So what is the file name again? I forgot. Where is it? I think I deleted it, right? So
Yeah.
build faker gin spec. It's gonna generate the file,
Mm-hmm.
and then we do gin push, and then we do this name file name.
Yeah.
And it's gonna push
Oh, nice.
to RubyGems.org, and then it's released. So if we go to the page now, the faker page, here.
Nice.
So it takes some time for the library to propagate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just did git gin push. It's not like, no, you're not going to be able to use 2.23 now at this moment, but in 5 minutes, RubyGems propagate the gem, and you will be able to use that. But come on, you just did a release, so what happens if I do bundle install? You will be using this one, 2.2.0. Until it is stable and they propagate, you will be able to use this version. But that's how we usually do a release of the faker gem. There is, for example, there is a way to automate this. Maybe it would be an issue. Instead of doing this, we could just create, when we create the tag, we could create a GitHub action, like a node that would do the RubyGem release automatically. Right? It is possible, like everything that I'm doing manually here, it is possible to automate. So maybe we could create a new issue and someone in this call could contribute for that.
Yeah. And also another issue that I was remembering is I haven't created yet, but I would like to move the main branch from master to main. I haven't even had the time to create the issue. So if anyone would like to do that, please, that would be great. Yeah. And I missed something that you said, Vitor. Could you please repeat? You were saying, so it takes a while for the new version to be stable. Could you go back on that a little bit?
Right now we need to do manual releases using the faker build faker gem stack. Faker, not sorry, gem. And then faker push faker, yeah, for example, right? We would like to automate this workflow. And once we create a tag, this should be done automatically. That's a good issue. If you want to do this, I would be very happy and I would reveal like if it works. Submit new issue. So now Stephanie is going to categorize. She might fix some of my descriptions because she is great on that. And now I'm going to explain to you why it takes time to propagate. It's something with RubyGems. It's not with us. It's because your version is probably in a queue. It's waiting, right? Because you have a lot of libraries. This is the org.org project, so they don't have a lot of money. This is something owned by the open source. So you really need to wait a couple of minutes to wait this version. So if I refresh, so you still see that it's 0.
Okay.
Because it's still propagating, but you will be able to access once the queue ends and you are really able to be on production.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
You can do.
And I think that's it. Like if you guys wanna, let me stop sharing my screen. Yes. If you guys wanna contribute for Faker, feel free to talk to us. I mean, we need people helping us with Faker. I also do Faker Elixir. If you guys do Elixir, let me know. I'm one of the core maintainers of Faker Elixir. and it's going to be awesome. And I hope it was productive. I hope you were able to understand that contributing to the open source is going to be a natural thing in your career, and you should really consider starting doing that now, because there is no reason to postpone. So start looking for translations, start looking for documentation fixes, typos, or anything that you could really contribute, and just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just installed Faker 223 here, so it should be working.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Yeah, so everyone, drop your questions in the chat. We have about 8 minutes for a Q&A. And Mayra had a question. Oh, sorry, not that one. This one. So have you thought about translating your documentation?
Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
You mean you want to have, for example, I see that your name is Mayara Lucia Navarro, so it's from my tribe, my clan. And so, for example, you want to have a Portuguese reading, right?
I think she's from Peru, so close Spanish.
Close. You want to have a Spanish reading. What do you think, guys?
I mean,
I think it's great.
It's a great idea.
I wonder if there's a website that has documentation translated, because I've seen that before, but I can't remember now.
Yeah, I can even remember a gem that already has that, but I'm sure there are some examples. I think this is one of the things that someone starts working on it and it's working, it's helping. That could be a great way to get started as well.
Yeah,
you will likely find lots of outdated documentation.
So one thing that Iago asked that I would like to just compliment, he asked, where is it? How do you decide when to release a new version? This is very specific for the project. So if you go to the Rails project, I'm talking about the Rails framework, and ask the core maintainers how do they do that, and if you ask to the Faker maintainers how do they do that, it's different because they are different projects, they are solving different problems, they have different clients, developers that consume those projects, and so any project that you join in your career, you're going to need to understand what are the standards, what are the patterns that that group uses, and because you want to keep things consistent. So, for example, for the releases in Faker, we are in the phase where we are going to start debating how often we want to do releases, right?
Yeah.
We want to release like 20 items, we want to release less. But what is the perfect number for us as maintainers? And then we will figure out, we will agree with conventions that we want to use in the library. And once we have the conventions and the standards, everybody's going to follow them. Yeah. And that's how it usually is. Like if you join a new company, it would be in the same way. So there is no perfect solution. This is just like mathematics. You can solve the same problem in many different ways. Sometimes it's the same. Sometimes it could be faster. Maybe you could go with that approach because you need something faster. Maybe, slowness is not a problem. So you can go anyway, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say in terms of open source.
Yeah. Some projects are also really stable, so they don't change a lot. And you might think, oh, this project is dead, but sometimes it's just very stable. There's no need for new features or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. Yeah, it's good that you touched on the guidelines. This is the next project we have, I think, for Faker. The current one is kind of update the dependencies. So simple call, the translation gem. By the way, if anyone wants to help me with the simple call one, I think it's a problem related to code climate. I still have to investigate. But once we have those dependencies updated, we are going to move on to the guidelines and have these discussions and document all of this, because that's the beauty of documentation, right? You decide once and it's written. You don't have to think again. It doesn't mean it won't never change. It's supposed to change, but it's great to have that as a start.
Yeah, this new release of Faker 2.23 we dropped support for older versions of Ruby, so 2.5,
Yeah.
2.6.
6.
And so that's a new thing that we decided to do last month.
Yeah.
And now it's
Vitor
merged.
said yes.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So now it's done.
Cool. So Iago says that he has an open PR in progress. It's been awesome contributing to Fake It, and I felt really welcome. Nice.
Nice.
Awesome. Good to hear. And then Maida has
Suggestion.
a question. How about a streaming about how to solve that PR? Okay, the one that we created, I assume, for the automatic gem release. Let's see how our schedules will look like, and then we can think about it, and we will let you know.
Yeah.
I won't promise anything, but if we have the time and the availability now, we will for sure let you know. So we could work on that or other things. I think that would be great.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Thanks for the suggestion, Maida.
Or if
Sorry,
you want to go there, if you want to go there and do it, go ahead. Like just propose the change. We can reveal. It's basically a GitHub workflow that you're going to be creating, and you're going to be essentially authenticating with a user and with a token in GitHub, GitHub, right? RubyGems. And then after you are authenticated, we can just do git build, gem build, and gem push. And then you do the release. So I don't think it's a very complicated solution. It might take you some time to research and know exactly what you have to do, but the implementation should be not more than 100 lines. Like should be less than 50, I would say.
Yeah, and it should be something that other gems already have for sure. So that's how I would do it. Like I would see, oh, okay, how are the other gems doing this?
Yeah, I left a comment there with an example because we had that in another gem. The release was automatic. And so I just left a comment, so maybe you can look at that before you try to solve the issue.
Sweet.
Any other question we have?
We are out of questions, but we have the final minutes. So if anyone has any other questions or comments that you would like to ask us, please do that before we
so
wrap up.
We are so let me just say thank you so much for attending this meeting or this live session, and it's a pleasure to talk about open source. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to add me. We live in Canada, like in Vancouver, so if you are like not in Canada and you would like to relocate to Canada, Thiago, Stephanie, me, we are great people to talk about that, and we can help you. Even introduce you to companies would be possible, and we are happy to support you in your journey as a software engineer and also as a global talent if you want to do this career. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to the next session.
Yeah, thanks so much, Vitor, for
your time, your dedication, putting the slides, your contribution
together.
To Faker, and for the invite for us to help you in this journey. And I would also love to extend this invite later for someone from the community as well. That would be really great.
Yeah, as a final note, because you are hexdev member, you can join an app with 20% discount. We are gonna be sending you like link. You can talk to me like, hey, I'm hexdev and I would like to learn more about software engineering leadership or anything related to mentorship that we believe it could support you. Feel free to reach out. I'm looking forward to doing more sessions with you guys, and thank you again.
Yeah, thanks so much, Vitor. And if you're looking for improving your career, become a team lead or a leader, I think Vitor is the best person to connect with if you want to become a leader. And thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time and everybody that showed up. It's always great to do these things live, and we haven't done
quite a while.
For a while, but
so it's great to be
more.
back. And sorry for the confusion with the link. This is, real life. But it worked. That's what matters. Nothing's life is irreversible. some things. But anyway, thank you, everyone. It's really great. We are happy to hear that you had a great time. We hope to see you in the Faker repository, asking questions, commenting on the issues, and opening pull requests.
Contributing.
Yeah, and if you want to follow along with us, you can go to our website, sign up for our newsletter, and also connect with Vitor. He's a really great person. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
So
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.
Bye.